Okay, so we're going to be factoring trinomials now where that a is not going to be equal to 1. Their a is going to be getting multiplied. The x squared, or the x squares, I mean, not the a. The x squareds are going to be getting multiplied by something other than 1. So when a quadratic trinomial has an a value that is not 1, we're going to do two things. We're going to use the diamond method, but the diamond method is going to kind of change a little bit at the end. You're going to pay close attention to that, and factoring by grouping. Okay, so just like we've always done, we have to identify our a, b, and our c. So in number 1, 5x squared plus 11x plus 2. What's our a value?
5.
5. B
11.
is 11, and our c is
2.
Notice it was all additions. We didn't have to rename it, did we? The subtraction to add the opposite. Here's what changes in our diamond. We don't just have a c here. We have a times c. Now, in the last one, when we were doing it when a was equal to 1, we could have really said it was still a times c, but our a was 1. So when we took 1 times c, we would have still gotten our c value. So today you cannot forget that you have to take the c value times a to be able to determine what has to be on top. So for this one, we're going to have our a is 5. Let's just show, I'm just showing all of the steps in our notes. What did we do? So we took the 5, the a value, times the c value of 2. And our b value is still what's down here, so we'll put our 11 down there. And 5 times 2 is 10.
11.
And this is 11. So it's no different. Now we're still looking for what numbers multiplied be that 10 that's up there at the top
1
and add up to our 11. And they are what?
1 and 10.
1 and 10. Okay, now, this is where we also don't go and say, okay, our factors are x plus 1 times x plus 10. Because if we FOIL x plus 1 times x plus 10, here's what trinomial we would get. We would get x squared plus 11x plus 10. Or, yeah, plus 10. That would not be 5x squared plus 11x plus 2. So today what happens when our a value is not equal to 1, this 1 and this 10 in the middle, they become x's. They actually end up becoming x's. And what we do is we take that middle term of 11x and we break it into 1x plus 10x. So we're going to rename that 11x. We're going to say, you know what, maybe they got combined together and they became 11x. This got simplified. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to rename the trinomial as a 4-term polynomial, and then we can use factoring by grouping. Okay, so we're going to rename it as 5x squared plus 10x. Oh, I guess I put the 1x on the line first, so it doesn't really matter which one gets to come first, but might as well follow the order we put them in our notes here. So 5x squared plus 1x plus 10x. The 11x got replaced by this right here, and then plus the 2. So the first term of the trinomial stays the same. The last term of the trinomial stays the same. The middle term gets broken into 2 terms. And now we can factor it by grouping. Okay? So let's write down our polynomial that we have to factor by grouping. All we've done now, we've renamed 5x squared plus 11x plus 2. Its new name is 5x squared plus 1x plus 10x plus 2. And now we can make our groups because we don't have any subtraction to worry about. So we're going to group these guys together and these guys together. What's the GCF of our first group?
5x.
5x?
Or
1x, just an x, right? There's nothing you can divide out of 5 and 1 other than 1. And so we could put a 1, or we could say, well, wait a minute, if there's another thing I can divide out, I don't have to worry about that one. If this one has an x squared, the other one has an x, so we can divide an x out of both of them. What's 5x squared divided by x? 5x, right? What's 1x divided by x? 1. So that's where we practiced our factoring by grouping again. What's the GCF of 10x plus 2? Just 2, isn't it? So now what's 10x? Divide out that 2.
5x.
5x. 2 divided by 2? 1. Did we accomplish what we wanted? Did we get matching factors? Yeah. Okay, so what is the factor name? The one they have in common is 5x plus 1. The other factor, no plus sign between these,
X plus 2.
x plus 2. So we still end up with 2 binomial factors, just like we did in the, when a was equal to 1. Just it's a little bit longer process because they both can't start with just x. They have to start with terms that when you multiply them in FOIL, they will get you that first term. And today you do have to do check problems, okay? So here's our answer. We say that 5x plus 1 times x plus 2 is the factor name. And we're going to check it out. Checking it out means multiply it out and make sure it gets you back to where we started at the very beginning. 5x squared plus 11x plus 2. So we're going to FOIL. Or at least I am. Maybe you want to do something else. But I think FOILing is, it clearly shows us kind of like where it was before we started even factoring by grouping. Okay, so go ahead and do the FOILing because I'm feeling confident you remember how to do that. And look at what happened with our O and our I step. There are those 2 terms that we ended up renaming the 11x as because they can now combine and become 11x, can't they? So it goes back to being 5x squared plus 11x plus 2. We're going to say it checks out. That's what we started with. We end up with it when we check it. When we multiply it back out. Okay, questions? The book will teach it a little bit differently. The book has you doing almost what's called like a guess and check. You have to figure out what would both binomials, what would each of the binomials have to start with, that when you multiply them together you would get 5x squared. So you would have to think of all the ways you could get 5x squared. Well, you could take 1x times 5x, and since 5 is a prime number, that's really the only possibility you have. And then you'd have to figure out, well, then what would you have to multiply to get 2? And there's only one way to get 2, it's 1 times 2. And then you would have to say, okay, now what order do I want to rearrange those all in so that when I FOIL it back out, I'll get my answer. So the book will teach you kind of like a guess and check method, like setting up all the possibilities and then which ones work. Whereas this just leads us directly to it. Okay? Let's go practice one more together before I have you start on your homework. Again, we will do check problems today to guarantee that we are successful before we keep doing more of it. Number 2, 4x squared minus 14x plus 6. What's the first thing we're going to do with this? Rename it. Add the opposite. So its new name is 4x squared plus negative 14x plus 6. Then go ahead and identify your A, your B, and your C. Okay, I want you today in your work to show at least 2 diamonds like this. I want you to show the multiplying diamond and then the one two middle numbers, okay? So in this one, we need to take what times what up here?
4 times 4.
4 times the 6, okay? And down here, what do we have? Negative 14. So all three parts are involved today. What is 4 times 6? 24. Okay, this is the diamond we're going to work in now, okay? We need what numbers multiply to be negative 24 and add, or positive 24, excuse me, and add up to negative 14. Oh, wait a minute, if they have to multiply to be a positive and add up to a negative, they both have to be negative. Which ones would they be? Yeah, negative 12 and negative 2. You guys are so good at this diamond thing. Thank goodness, huh? Negative 12 times negative 2. Now, this is, before we would have stopped here and said, oh, okay, our factors are x minus 12 times x minus 2.
Nope.
Not today. What are we going to do with that negative 12 and that negative 2?
You're going to change the 14 into negative 2 negative 12.
Yeah, so this middle term right here is going to get replaced with that. It's broken into two terms. So this is going to become a negative 12x plus a negative 2x.
Plus 6.
So those guys are going to replace the negative 14x. So we're going to write our new polynomial here. We have 4x squared plus negative 12x plus negative 2x plus the 6. So the middle term gets broken into two terms that, when you combine them back together, would legitimately get you back there. And now we're ready to, now, when we change it to add the opposite right away in the beginning, that takes care of everything for us. And when we write it as addition, when we rename it, we don't have to worry about. So we can just set up our groups right away and do our factoring by grouping. Okay, go ahead and do that without me. I want you to factor each group and then see if we get the same results. Do you agree that the GCF of the first group is 4x?
Yes.
Right. Do you agree that the GCF of the second group is 2?
No.
No, why not?
Because
negative 2,
It
so
should
you
be,
can,
yeah, it didn't end up with matching factors, did it? So this is one of those times we say, okay, well then now let's try it with a negative 2, which would then create a positive x here and a negative 3 here, and now I have matching factors. So what is the factored name for
x
our trinomial?
plus negative, or x plus negative 3, parentheses, times, parentheses, 4x plus negative 2.
Okay. Now, can that be cleaned up for an answer bank?
Yes.
Yeah, it can be.
x minus 3.
X minus 3.
But if you're going to FOIL it, you wouldn't change it.
But when you FOIL it, which name do you want to use?
And yes.
This one, right? Yeah. But you do have to FOIL it. So go ahead, find some space where you're going to be able to check it now. So this is its factored name cleaned up. This is how we would find it in an answer bank. But before we cleaned it up, that's probably where we want to FOIL it from to check it out, to make sure it checks. I didn't leave myself a whole lot of room, so I guess I'll FOIL like this.
back to the beginning, 4x squared minus 14x plus 6. I'm feeling pretty good about our factored name. Mine checked out, did yours?
Yes.
You ready to try this, so the next one on your own? Try it on your own. Set up a diamond that helps you determine the correct numbers to use. And then have a work diamond. One of those big numbers. There's a little trick to this though. When they have to multiply to be a negative, and they have to be add up to be a -1, that means in reality they can only be, their absolute values can only be 1 unit apart. So factors of 90 that are only 1 unit apart, what are they? 9 and 10. Now the only decision we have to make is which one should be positive and which one should be negative. And 10 should be negative and 9 should be positive, yeah.
So basically that tells me that I have a 9x now plus a negative 10x, so that when I rename my trinomial into a 4-term polynomial, those are going to replace the what? The negative x, the negative 1x, yep. Keep working.
See if we can come up with the same factor name. We should.
Okay, now in black, I will have my cleaned up factor name for this, if you agree. Or need to be challenged? You foiled yours?
Yes.
Because I haven't. I'm going to leave it to you to foil.
Was that the answer in black?
Yep. That would be our final answer, how we would see it in an answer bank.
But before it got cleaned up, this is probably the better choice to foil it with, is this one right here, because then we can get good multiplications going on. I have a quick question for you because this is what I fear will happen. It happens almost every year.
When we are going back to this factoring by grouping thing, because we separate, the groups are separated with this addition sign right here. So I'm talking about this, here's our groups, and they have this addition sign right here. Where does that addition sign go? Where does it end up?
Right there with the negative 5.
Yeah, this is where it is right here, because this is it here, right? This is it brought down here. And then when we bring this together with that negative 5, that's where it ends up, 3x plus negative 5. So it doesn't come down between our parentheses. Our parentheses need to show multiplication. So we can't have
So that's what was that parentheses.
addition sign in between the parentheses. It actually didn't get lost. It's still part of the problem. Okay? So 2x plus 3 times 3x minus 5 should get us back to our original 6x squared minus x minus 15. Does it when you FOIL it?
Yes.
Okay, super. Okay, it's time for you to start homework then.